to meet you, Mrs. McCuller's. I'm sorry about the health issues you've been having lately. I know it must be a burden to be here. So I would like to thank you because it really means a lot to interview such an exquisite author.
Why, thank you. And while I have been suffering from my cancer, heart attacks, and a bone crushing fall, I'm happy to be here and share my life with you.
Splendid. So tell us about what it was like growing up in Columbus, Georgia in the 20s and 30s.
Growing up, I was a tomboy, while other girls my age wore stockings and dainty heels. They used to throw stones at me and call me things like queer and freak. Thankfully, I had my music and writing to escape to.
Oh yes, your music and writing. When did you start playing the piano and composing music?
I started playing the piano at the tender age of 10 and started composing music not soon after, practicing for up to 8 hours a day.
When did you begin writing, and what sort of pieces did you write?
I began writing at a very young age, around 11 years old, but I really started writing at 15 when my father bought me a typewriter and encouraged my story writing. I mostly wrote plays, which I tried to perform in the living room. I wrote about murder and incest back then.
Where do you get your inspiration for writing?
From my childhood and through my marriage to Reeves and McCuller's, and the inner loneliness and isolation that people feel. Also the incompatibility of lover and beloved, and longing to connect with other people. Many people describe my writing as Southern Gothic, but I just live with the people I create, and it has always made my ascent to loneliness less keen.
Those are all very emotional topics. Now, on to another emotional topic, your family.
Well, I grew up with my parents, Lamar and Marguerite Smith. My father was a jewelry designer, while my mother was a homemaker.
You married Reeves McCuller's in 1937. Will you comment further about this?
When I met Reeves, I was an aspiring writer, as was he, which is something we had in common, and it just went from there. He was an abusive husband and also drank a lot, but I don't blame him because he was a very troubled man and asked me to commit a double suicide with him, but I was frightened by this and left Paris, where he later killed himself. We divorced in 1940 when I was 23, and I lived in both Saratoga Springs and Columbus, New York for brief periods of time over the course of 5 years. I mostly lived in the February House, an old brownstone in Brooklyn Heights with lots of famous authors and poets, including my dear friends W.H. Auden, Louis MacNeice, Chester Coleman, and Paul and James Bowles. But people came and went, and there were quite a few characters in the bunch, which allowed me to use my creativity to write The Ballad of the Sad Cafe and begin to write The Member of the Wedding.
Sounds like awful lot was going on in Brooklyn. Did it inspire you to write your books?
Yes, it did very much. We used to go to this bar in Brooklyn, and every Saturday night there would be a hunchback man there, which inspired me to create one of my characters in The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. I also started writing The Member of the Wedding there.
All of your books take place in the South. Is there a reason for this?
I feel that the voices reheard from childhood have a truer pitch, and how could I write a book about some strange place I've never been to and describe it? I will have to wonder what kind of flowers bloom and at what time of the year they bloom.
Critics have mixed reviews about your books, especially Reflections in a Golden Eye. What do you think about the reviews?
My books reflect my life and really what I'm dealing with at the moment, and Reflections in a Golden Eye just really expresses how I was feeling then and what position I was in.
One last question. Do you plan on writing any more pieces in the future?
I'm actually working on a new book, which is yet to be titled.
I'm sure everyone listening to our interview cannot wait for it to be published. Thank you for allowing us to interview about your life and writing. It has been such a pleasure.
I'm glad to share with you.
Carson McCuller's died on August 15, 1967 at age 50 in Nyack, New York, from another stroke that left her in a coma she did not wake up from. Her last novel was A Clock Without Hands, published in 1961.